name is Rashida Rattray, and I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Connecticut Fair Housing Center. Today, we are joined by Staff Attorney Loraine Martinez Bellamy, and we are going to discuss some foreclosure tips and practices and provide some resources for homeowners who may be going through financial hardship at this time. So thank you so much for joining us today, Loraine.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So before we jump into the foreclosure tips and basics that we wanted to go through today, I kind of want to stop and give a little intro on the Connecticut Fair Housing Center and what we do. Wonderful picture of Loraine. So the Connecticut Fair Housing Center is a statewide civil rights nonprofit with the singular mission to ensure that all people have equal access to housing opportunities in the state of Connecticut, free from discrimination. Because we recognize that discrimination disproportionately affects people with low incomes, the center focuses on the intersectionality of poverty and housing discrimination. The center also assists Connecticut homeowners who have been hit hardest by the nation's ongoing foreclosure crisis. So you can separate the work we do into these categories. We provide foreclosure prevention, education and outreach. We do policy advocacy, eviction defense, and fair housing enforcement. So we're going to move over to question number 1 for Loraine. Loraine, can you give us a brief overview of the foreclosure process?
Absolutely. So Connecticut is a judicial foreclosure state, meaning that in order for your mortgage company to take your home, they must go through the court system and start a foreclosure suit. So many of you may be behind on your mortgage, and when you are behind on your mortgage, you are in default on your mortgage, but you are not technically in foreclosure in the state of Connecticut until you're served by a marshal on your property. It does not need to be in hand, as we sometimes see in the movies, but it should be on your property, and that begins the foreclosure process. You cannot be foreclosed on or sued in foreclosure until you're 120 days delinquent under federal law. So right around 4 months. If you can stay under 4 months delinquent because your mortgage company is continuing to take your payments, you're protected from foreclosure. They must send you a notice of acceleration, or what we call the 30-day letter, because it literally says you have 30 days to come current. Here's the amount that you owe. Here's where you send the money. They have to send that under Connecticut law before they start the foreclosure process. They have to give you the opportunity to reinstate the mortgage, or in other words, pay the arrearage that is owed on your mortgage at the time. Once you're 120 days late, you receive that 30-day letter, you can be served by a foreclosure suit by a marshal at any time after that. And that begins the process itself. So when you are served by a marshal, sometimes they just throw it on your porch. Sometimes it's wintertime and it ends up covered in snow. So if you know you're more than 4 months behind on your mortgage, you want to keep an eye on your property and keep an eye on any documents that are delivered to it. It'll be a pretty thick package, and it can be overwhelming when you do receive it. Within that package, there are 2 forms to look out for. And one is the appearance form, which is the form that tells the court how to contact you, and also tells the court that you would like to be contacted and to be kept abreast of everything that's going on in your case. And the second form is a foreclosure mediation certificate, which is your application to the court, your request to the court to participate in Connecticut's foreclosure mediation program. Both of those need to be filed with the court within 15 days of your return date. And the return date is a date that you'll find on a document within that package that's called a summons. Unlike what the name suggests, you don't have to return anything on that date. No, it's just the technical beginning of your lawsuit on that day, and you have 15 days from that return date to submit your documents to court. You don't have a hearing on that day. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to call anyone. It's just you need to have documents in within 15 days of that. And once you apply for the mediation program, if you meet the requirements, meaning it's a mortgage foreclosure, it's your primary residence, and it's a 1 to 4 family home, your bank or your mortgage company will be required to participate for up to 3 mediation sessions. And the purpose of the program is to allow you to negotiate with your mortgage company to try to keep your home if that's what you desire, or to plan a graceful exit, sometimes a short sale or a deed in lieu of foreclosure that allows you to leave your home if that's what you would like to do. 70% of the people that participate in the foreclosure mediation program keep their homes. So it's a very successful program. It's meant to protect you and to give you support. You meet with the bank or the mortgage company and a mediator. They are state employees. Most of them are attorneys that have been doing this work for a very long time, so they are aware of the process. They're not your advocate per se, but they are able to help you navigate the process. And if they see something that seems weird or out of order, they usually refer you to us if it's a legal issue. And that's kind of how the foreclosure process develops in Connecticut.
Awesome. Question number 2 that I have for you is, what does the foreclosure process look like now that we're in the times of COVID?
So for a while, up until just 2 weeks ago, July 31st of 2021, there was a moratorium on foreclosures for government insured mortgages, which is the greatest proportion of the market. About 75% of the market, folks that own homes have government insured property. So during that time, there's been no foreclosures started or no foreclosures advanced for Fannie Mae loans, Freddie Mac loans, FHA loans, VA loans, USDA loans. Anything that's government insured has come to a halt. There was also another state moratorium that expired a while back. So it's created kind of a holding pattern for a lot of people that are facing foreclosure. And now that the moratorium has elapsed, we will start to see new foreclosures starting for folks that have fallen behind during the pandemic. There are additional protections that are still available for borrowers who were less than 120 days delinquent on March 1st of 2020. So if when the pandemic started, you were less than 4 months behind, you're protected from a foreclosure being started against you until January 1st of 2022 by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's mortgage servicing rule that was specifically enacted to protect homeowners that have experienced COVID-19 hardships. So there is this grace period from now until January 1st of next year for those people that were just a little behind or not behind at all. So anywhere from 4 months to not behind at all when the pandemic started. For everyone else, the process will continue. So if your case was in foreclosure and it came to a halt during the pandemic, maybe your mediations have begun again. As of last week, they've started up again, so you'll get notified of your mediation. If you were behind when the pandemic started, but you hadn't been served with a foreclosure yet, you may be served soon unless you contact your bank, and we'll talk a little bit about how best to go about it before you are served. So things are getting back into the swing of things, unfortunately. So this is the time where if you are behind or were behind, you want to seek out help from your mortgage company or from us, advice from us about what to do going forward and what programs are available now that the moratoriums have elapsed. There is moratorium still for evictions on FHA, on properties owned by either Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. They've created a stopgap until January 1st of next year, where their loans, nobody can be evicted from those properties during that time, and foreclosures as well will be protected against that. There is federal funds that are coming to the state of Connecticut from the federal government, from the CARES Act relief of $123 million to assist homeowners in catching up. And it's not just on your mortgage, it can be if you're behind on taxes, and if you're behind on your condo association fees, on sewer lien charges. Anything related to your home and property will be eligible. That program will be opening up in the fall sometime, so look out for that. A smaller pilot program has started already, but is only geared toward mortgage people that are behind on their mortgages. If you have any questions about the pilot program, please contact CHFA, the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, to see if you are amongst the homeowners that are eligible for that. The larger program that will be available to everyone in the state will be opening up in the fall. So things are different, but we are moving towards some sense of normalcy, which will look very interesting.
Thank you, Loraine. So are there any protections out there to help homeowners who are having trouble paying their mortgage?
Yep, as I mentioned a little while ago, Rashida, I think I jumped ahead. One, there's the CFPB mortgage servicing rule for COVID, which is just that if you were less than 120 days delinquent as of March 1st, you're protected from foreclosure until January 1st of next year, unless your property has been abandoned, and or you've been unresponsive to outreach from your mortgage company. So for those of you that are more than 120 days delinquent and you weren't at the beginning of the pandemic, make sure that you're in contact with your mortgage servicer in some way, whether it's over the phone, via email, letting them know that you would like to keep your home, that you would like to work something out, because the CFPB will be keeping track of the contact that servicers are having with homeowners before they start a foreclosure. I don't expect that many homeowners are going to risk it and just start a foreclosure, even though, you know, you've been reaching out to them, but we just never know. So if you are being contacted, I know it's annoying, but just answer the phone every now and then so that you're in contact with them. You're moving the process forward in some way. And in addition to that, there's forbearances still available for most government insured loans, that you can call your mortgage company, request a forbearance, even if it feels deep into the pandemic, they are still available. And you can get a 6-month forbearance. I think for FHFA at this point, if you were to, for FHA, sorry, if you were to request it, you would only get a 6-month forbearance, but it's still worth it. It protects you from foreclosure. If you are trying to figure out what your next step is going to be, but you need a little bit more time, you want to make sure that you're in a forbearance so that you are protected from a foreclosure. Although, as I explained before, the foreclosure process is deliberate, there's a lot of protections within it, it does rack up fees. So if you can avoid racking up a few $1,000s of fees and making it easier for you to catch up, or just reduce the amount of debt that's going to be recapitalized into your principal when you modify, you want to be able to do that. So request a forbearance if you need it so that it'll protect you from a foreclosure. As I mentioned before too, the Homeowner Assistance Fund, it's $123 million that are coming to the state of Connecticut to help homeowners. Look out for that in the fall. We are hoping that the eligibility requirements are going to be very flexible and there isn't going to be a lot of paperwork required to be able to verify your hardship, but there will be a lot of media attention, a lot of promotion for that in the fall. So if you're behind, especially for those of you that are behind on taxes, condo association fees, utilities, sewer, water liens, that program is going to be able to help you. Those of you that are behind on your mortgages, if it's government insured, you usually have better solutions beyond that, or at least other solutions. But for non-mortgage foreclosures, the Homeowner Assistance Fund is going to be really the place you go for help. Post forbearance, if you had one already, you want to make sure you reach out to your mortgage company. Under federal law, they are required to reach out to you as the forbearance is nearing the end and offer you options. But if you have not received anything from them, be proactive, call them. There are a variety of loan modifications available right now, especially for FHA loans and Fannie and Freddie loans that are either very low document requirements in terms of, you know, we're all used to dealing with the modification applications that are hundreds of pages long and take a while, and there's a lot of back and forth. My experience already working with the servicers has been for the post forbearance, post COVID relief stuff. They are asking either for no documents, if, for example, you can afford your mortgage payment as it is right now, and you're not looking for an interest rate reduction or a term extension, meaning you're not looking for your loan term maturity date to be pushed out much further to make your payment more affordable, they're not requiring documents for some of those options. If you do need a lower payment, because although you've recovered somewhat from your COVID hardship, you're not 100% back on your feet, they're requiring minimal documentation. So we're talking about 30 days of pay stubs, 1 month of bank statements, and a hardship letter, which is very little information compared to the amount of documents that used to be required for modification. So this is also a great time if you've been going back and forth with your mortgage company for months, years before the pandemic about income verification. I have clients who are self-employed or have different income that the servicer has historically had a hard time, verifying. You want to make sure that you apply for these COVID relief modifications that require much less documents in order to get a modification that's going to be affordable for you and that's going to bring you current on your mortgage. So the best place to start is to call your mortgage servicer or, go on their website and see what they have. If they should all be up to date on what's available for post forbearance COVID relief, and they will be the best ones to tell you, what you qualify for based on your circumstances.
Thank you so much for that, Loraine. That's some awesome information, especially for individuals that are self-employed. I feel like this is going to help them and cut down the paperwork aspect of what they have to do and submit so much. So what services does the Connecticut Fair Housing Center provide to assist homeowners facing foreclosure?
So we have a bunch of different resources. I'll start from the top, which I think is the best way for you to get your questions answered, is our virtual advice sessions weekly. You go on our website, you book a consultation through the website form, and you get 15 minutes of one of our times. It's usually an attorney that's on for the week. We answer any question that you have on your particular case, and it's a video conference, so it at least feels a little bit more like you're meeting the person that you're speaking to, and the 15 minutes are yours. Whatever questions you have, we can answer. We do this every single day, so you will rarely stump us, so that's the best option. We also have a manual called Representing Yourself in Foreclosure that's available in English and in Spanish. And this is a manual that will take you from day one all the way to the end of the foreclosure. So if you are a details person and would like to know exactly what's coming down the road, bit by bit, it goes thoroughly into the foreclosure process. What I summarized at the beginning of our presentation, it goes into a lot of detail about that. It also has forms at the back. Some of the most used judicial forms are in there that you can just tear out and submit should you need them. And we also have an intake line that's available at all times. We follow up with you within 2 days of your call, and we answer whatever questions you have over the phone. If it's something that's more complicated, we'll do an intake for you and look further into your questions. And we also represent a very small percentage of the folks that we speak to in foreclosure cases. And those are the cases that are very complicated. So I always tell people, although I seem very lovely and friendly, you probably don't want me involved in your case because it means that things have gone horribly wrong with your foreclosure matter. Those are the type of cases that we get involved in that are just very complicated, usually have been years of homeowners dealing with the mortgage company and not getting anywhere. And we also represent folks in actions against their mortgage companies. Maybe you're not in foreclosure, but something has happened with your case that has put you in danger of foreclosure, or some other wrongdoing by your mortgage company. And lastly, we work closely with housing counselors and mediators in the state. So the different housing counseling agencies in the different cities. In the pre-pandemic times, we collaborated with them on in-person presentations and trainings for homeowners on representing themselves in foreclosure. During post-pandemic times or within pandemic times, we sometimes host virtual trainings alongside them, and many times we're answering questions via email and via phone that are being asked on your behalf by your housing counselor. Same thing with mediators. They refer cases to us, and we contact them if we speak to someone over the phone and it seems like there's something going on in their case that something has gone awry. We have a close working relationship with both the counselors and the mediators in the state, so there are a ton of resources.
Awesome, awesome. And those resources that you mentioned earlier with regards to the moving forward guide and our intake line, those will also be available in the posts that this is in. So you'll be able to access those of you who are watching, so that you're able to make sure that you're going through the steps with the moving forward guide. And also, if you are having an issue, you're able to give our intake line a call. So for our final question, Loraine, do you have any last words of advice for our homeowners that may be watching today or tonight or whatever time you guys are watching this?
There is help available. I always tell people on the phone to just take a deep breath. It can be very overwhelming, and nobody wants to be in the situation where you've fallen behind on your mortgage, but you're not alone. And we have a ton of resources in the state that we've developed over the course of the last 15 years, or maybe 13, 15 years since the last foreclosure crisis, to help homeowners protect themselves. So there's a lot of protections within the state laws. There's a lot of resources within the judicial branch and our center and the work that we do. So if you're confused about where to start, reach out to us, schedule a time, either a virtual session or call the intake line, and we can try to walk you through what your next best step is. Rarely do I speak to someone where there's nothing that can be done. It's just the earlier you get the information, the better off you're going to be, because then at least you have the resources and the information to make the best decision for you and your family. So yeah, again, even though it's an overwhelming situation, reach out to us if you're confused and don't know where to start and don't know what your next step is.
Thank you again, Loraine, for that. And thank you so much for all the information that you provided today. I'm really hoping that this is able to help someone or some families out there that may be struggling or going through the foreclosure process, to at least give you some direction or give you some insight on the process. For those of you who are watching, please let us know if this video was helpful. If you have foreclosure questions that we didn't get to or we didn't answer here, please feel free to drop them in the comment box. Again, this is our contact form, and all of the information that is here in this contact form will be available in the post, so that you all will be able to have access to it. So again, thank you so much, Loraine. I appreciate your time and your insight, and taking the time out to make sure that we're getting this information out to people who need it. And thank you all again for watching with us today. Enjoy the rest of your day.